Okay, these are two important trade associations for television. The Video Advertising Bureau used to be the Cable Advertising Bureau, and the Association for Spot Television, in other words, for local TV stations, selling local and regional advertisers and national advertisers via rep firms usually, is called the TVB, Television Advertising Bureau. And just as we saw with the OAAA, the Outdoor Advertising Association of America, the DP-AA, Digital Place-Based Media Association, the publishers, the Magazine Publishers Association, on and on, Radio Advertising Bureau. These folks are there to market, to help their clients, who are the cable networks and the local TV stations, etc., help their clients market and attract new customers, do research on behalf of the industry, represent each industry to the government for legislative issues, etc. And moving right along, I hope. Whoops, I think I skipped one. Sorry. Okay, just as when we reviewed other media, looked at, USA Today is the #1 newspaper, and the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Times. Magazines, we looked at AARP magazine is #1 in the U.S., etc. These, as of 2016-17, are the top-rated, most watched shows, and these are in millions of viewers. And this is on ad-supported network. This is not on subscriber-supported networks like Netflix, etc. And you see it's football, and some NCIS with some labs and some dead people. Big Bang Theory, ... So you can see these shows here. And remember, also, please, going back to the Emmys this year, only 7 Emmys won by advertising-supported television shows. This is from your book. Again, it's a good book. The woman who wrote it is very knowledgeable. It's a short book. None of the chapters is that long or hard to read. It's a couple of years old, but this gives ratings for syndicated programs. And you remember, again, that you see all the game shows, right? Family Feud, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, etc. So these are shows that have been produced. They've already aired on the networks in many cases, not in the case of the game shows, but in many, or Judge Judy, but many of the others. And the programs are sold in blocks and seasons to other TV stations and other people who want to run them, and that's syndicated. And there are the ratings there. Source is Nielsen. Now here we have the subscriber shows. And you'll see, by the way, that Orange is the New Black for the whole season has as many viewers as the Super Bowl. How about that? 23 million viewers. And again, all these are subscription supported, and these are where the talent is going in the programming business. Much more fun to make these bingeable shows, etc. And by the way, this is sourced by a company called Symphony Advanced Media. And because we always like to look at international and keep our eye on, over the horizon, looking at what's going on in business in other parts of the world. Worldwide, these are the highest rated TV shows. And you've got the Summer Olympics, and you've got the World Cup soccer, and again, a lot of sports for the most part. Worldwide audience of close to 4 billion, 3.5, 4 billion for some of these things. And again, this is the whole Fluxorama here, because this is what we see now when we bring up our screen, particularly on the new smart TVs and the Roku TVs and the etc. TVs, Netflix TVs. Your choices look like this, and you can go to your regular feed for your cable, for TV shows, whatever the case may be, or you go right to directly to the network you want to look at and take it from there. This seems to be the new dashboard for televisions. And remember, everything's in flux, right? This, when I did a screen search for pictures of in flux, this is like the third choice, but that was kind of artistic looking. So it just says everything's boiling away, everything's changing. You're not sure quite what's going to happen. What I wanted to I'm going to cite stark, hopefully vivid and pictorial example of what something being in flux means. I have a series of books that I reread every 10 years or so. They're called the Aubrey Maturin books, Aubrey, Maturin, M as in Mary, Aturin as in Nancy, named after the two main characters, this kind of unlikely friendship. If you ever saw or heard of the movie Master and Commander, several years ago, 10, 12 years ago, it came out. Russell Crowe was the lead role in it. It's a very good movie, and it's based on several of these books. And the books are wonderful. They take place during the Napoleonic Wars, and they kind of track these two friends. One is the captain of some different ships, and the other is the physician aboard the ship, and also a spy and a naturalist. And they're beautifully written and very rich in historical detail and character development. Anyway, I'm now rereading these for the third time. I'm pretty much near the end. And 1 or 2 books ago, our two heroes, Aubrey and Maturin, are sailing in their ship of the line. You know, it's a ship with all the masts and all the big white sails, and they're kind of square-shaped sails. And who knows? This could be the way it's the way Greta Thunberg kind of came across the Atlantic recently. We may be going back to these things because they don't use a lot of electricity or steam or gasoline for the power. They use wind. Anyway, they're in this ship, and when they go out on missions, they're going around the world many times. They're going from England around the tip of South America, and fighting their way into the Pacific, and they go through doldrums in a month, where they don't have any wind and they're just sitting there and it's hot. They go through icebergs around the Antarctic and finally get to the Pacific Ocean. Anyway, at one point in this particular book, the ship is sailing along fairly briskly, and for a week or two, it's been followed by a huge white shark, which is visible off to the side of the ship, obviously below the ship, but it's huge. And there's smaller sharks seemingly down below. And the shark is following because, after dinner, all the bones and the blood and whatever's left gets thrown out, and maybe a bad keg of salt pork gets thrown out, and shark gets a little something to eat. And by the way, even though it's very, very hot, whereas the sailors would customarily, jump off the side, and get cool or try to get cool in the ocean water, they're having none of that with that huge shark under the boat. Shark swimming alongside one day, and someone, maybe one of the Marines, takes a pot shot at it with a rifle and nicks, and the bullet manages to penetrate the water and somehow make a small nick in the skin of the shark, and a little bit of blood comes out. A few seconds later, everyone on the ship crowds over to the one side where the shark is on, because the little sharks from down below, who are, 1/10 the size of this huge white shark, are consuming the big shark. And the water is boiling, and they're thrashing and chomping and eating. And I'm sorry, it's unpleasant, particularly for you vegetarians. And blood is in the water. And within a few minutes, they basically just decimate this huge shark. He's gone. They've chomped up everything, and they'll eat anything, bones, license plates, anything. There's nothing left of the huge shark but just a huge red spot in the water, and the boat is sailing along, and a little while later, lo and behold, another large shark has taken the place of the huge shark. It's not as big as the first shark, maybe 60 or 65% of the size of the huge shark, but it now is the one who's up on top, going along the ship and kind of seemingly the boss of everything. And network TV was like that huge shark. Okay, it had everything going its way. It was the boss in the ocean of media and advertising. was getting most of the money. Everyone's first choice to run their advertising pretty much on TV, and they had it their way, didn't have to sell it too hard. And now the times they are changing, and the water's bubbling, and things are in flux. There are other creatures and other hardware solutions and other programming solutions and etc. now taking their bites out of network TV, and everything is changing. And some other, probably smaller shark will come up and take the place of network TV. And I'm not quite sure we know exactly what that shark's going to look like yet. Advantages and disadvantages of television advertising. Television advertising is amazingly persuasive, as the impression it has that it creates is sight, sound, and motion. You can demonstrate anything, show anything. There are a lot of cost alternatives. You can do pay-per order deals on TV. You can buy individual markets, individual cables, channels, lots of choices. You get quick responses. People are watching their TV and they buy. Just talk to the Home Shopping Network or just watch the movie. What is the movie? I want to say Hope or something. You know, the one with Jennifer Lawrence where she plays the woman with the mop who goes on Home Shopping Network, and all of a sudden sales take off. Ding, 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 ring, 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 and they watch the sales rack up. That's TV. As she demonstrates the mop, talks about it. Turnaround can be pretty quick to get on air. It's expensive to produce TV ads. You know, to produce really nice, creative, can cost a lot of money. To produce an infomercial costs a lot of money. Of course, if you film everything with your iPhone, maybe it's not quite as expensive, but normally TV production costs are the highest that there are out there. Now, we've really only talked about paid media so far in this lecture. And of course, there is sponsorship with TV, sports events, sometimes with programs. But what's really interesting, I think, in the mix here is product placement, okay, which is, it's paid, but it's where the product becomes part of the programming. It's fit into. Usually it's just showing the bottle or the watch face or the clothing or the car, etc. And it started in the movies, and there's still a fair amount of it in television. And it's intriguing because once you've embedded the product inside the programming, you can't fast forward through it. It's not a standalone ad, but it's a bit frustrating because you're not going to get a lot of benefit and support communication out of characters who are supposed to be, you know, living their lives and reading from a script that has nothing to do with your product. So you can show the product, show it hopefully in a positive light in a program, but you can't do a lot of hard selling for sure. And of course, PR is a big thing in TV, mostly in local news shows. You know, for Valentine's Day, they come in and demonstrate all the goodies, you know, that kind of thing. Or if you've got something new happening, you create what's called B-roll video of whatever the new product is, and you put a little piece together and you can send it out to local TV stations and get them to play it. So there are lots of ways to get some messaging about your product on TV, but it's mostly local. TV content is everything. What can we say? So how's the TV impression again? Yes, it's the most persuasive. CPM for prime time is high, but other types of TV are less expensive. Quality of the impression, measurability, TV is becoming more measurable, but you can't really track clicks with it, but viewership's becoming more and more measurable. Here's our CPM chart that we've looked at many, many times. You see spot TV, prime time is the most expensive of TV. TV's on the left there in the dark blue. Network TV is next expensive. So just another word about TV. What was it going to be? Oh, yes. You don't engage your imagination with TV. It's sort of there for you, same as with a movie. That's one disadvantage of the impression versus print. So we talked about free speech, we talked about TV, and we're done.